All right, last session on YouTube on our first ever international MBA day. If you're not tired of hearing from me at this point, I'll let our panelists take over. So we have MBA alums looking back on their international student experience in business schools. So we have Pranjali, Kinjal, and Joanna. I'm going to let you all introduce yourself. So I want to hear about three things. Number one, which school you went to, which class you were in. Number two, what was where in the world are you right now? What are you doing? And number three, what was your favorite thing in your MBA program? And then we can maybe talk about some of the specifics and do a retro of your MBA. So Pranjali, I'll start with you. I'll go reverse clockwise. I'll go to Joanna after, and then Kinjal last.
Sure. Hi, this is Pranjali. I graduated from the Yale School of Management this summer. And currently I'm working as an associate at McKinsey & Co. in their Seattle office. My favorite, it's difficult to pick a few favorite, like one top favorite thing, but I would have to say organizing Fimpire, which is Women in Management's like largest conference in Yale SOM. I was like a first year leader, and then I was a second year leader in my second year, and just getting all these different speakers to speak to the student body and creating that environment was definitely a top thing that I remember from my MBA.
Awesome. Joanna?
Yeah, nice meeting everyone. My name is Joanna. I went to UNC Kingdom Flagler, graduated in 2020. I also work in management consulting. I'm an engagement manager at McKinsey in Atlanta office. My favorite thing about business school, there are like so many. I think the first one is we organize kind of like MBA orientation for all the international students. So we did kind of like a flash mob, dance to the Uptown Funk. That was really fun. And then the second piece is basically touring around the world. So we have a lot of like exchange programs. I participated in that and then went to Helsinki. That was really fun as well.
Awesome. Kinjal?
Awesome. So hi everybody, I'm Kinjal. I went to Tepper School, Carnegie Mellon. So I graduated in 2017. I'm based out of Phoenix, Arizona. It's very, very hot in the desert over here. So this is my second summer. I'm getting used to it, from Pittsburgh, which is very snowy place, to the desert place. So best thing about Tepper, which I'm going to talk about, is Tepper has one of the smallest class size. So we definitely promote a lot of community. It's a lot of helping out whoever needs help. For example, so some of the best experience which I had was, so suppose I'm preparing for some of the internship interviews, I can call upon my second year students and they'll happy to help me out, talk through the experiences, and definitely get me prepared for those internship interviews. So it's a very, very close community that really helped us a lot.
Awesome. Sorry, and Kinjal, what are you doing now?
Sorry, I'm the product leader at Carvana. So Carvana is the headquarters in Phoenix.
Awesome.
Thanks.
Sounds great. I'll do a quick round robin as well. I'll finish the loop here. I also graduated in 2020, Joanna. We had the same class. I moved to product management, I moved to Seattle immediately after, worked in Amazon, like AWS for a little bit, worked there for 2 years, and then I moved to Meta, and I'm a product manager there again. So I've only been in tech. I've always been in Seattle. I'm kind of looking forward to getting out of Seattle a little bit. Pranjali, Seattle is beautiful.
Rainy day today. It's a rainy day. It makes you question things.
Maybe Austin. Yeah. That's the new Seattle for most people.
That is correct. Cool. So I think one of the things that I wanted to start with is looking back your MBA days, which was like yesterday for you, Pranjali. Sorry, I'm just not going to get tired of the joke. But looking back at your MBA, what were some of the things that you were really surprised with? And I asked this question to current students who I chatted with a few hours ago. But I am curious, what were some of the things that you thought were either culturally surprising or professionally surprising? I can go first. I didn't know that you had to talk about yourself so much, and I feel like there was like a fine balance between being a very bashful person, like who constantly brags about themselves, versus like actually having a conversation where you weave in your accomplishments, so that this person who is trying to like recruit for an associate or whatever takes notice. So that was really weird for me, because growing up in India and generally, and I've vetted this with my other Asian classmates, it's the same. Like, we are generally not used to that. We are generally used to like, my test score speaks for themselves. That's the mindset that we are kind of used to, and I think that that entire conversational tactic would permeate across different recruiting events. So we had this thing called the circle of death, where Joanna, you're an engagement manager, so people like you would come to campus all the time, and I can only imagine how stressful it was to like, okay, there are like 10 people trying to talk to me, and I'm at the center. But it's just as stressful being one of those 10 as well. So those things were really shocking to me. I never had to go through that in my undergrad, and I'm pretty sure business schools in India do not operate that way. I'm curious, Pranjali, I'll start with you on this one. What was the most surprising for you?
I think it'll be helpful to talk about it in like different lenses. So I'll start with recruiting because you set the subject, set the tone there. In terms of recruiting, you're right. The way I recruited in undergrad in India was very different than what I went through in business school. In India, there are a couple of days where companies come in and you kind of get shortlisted based on your test scores, and then you
Right.
have a couple of rounds of interviews, and that's it. Here, networking played a bigger role, which necessarily is not a bad thing. I think it gives you kind of an arena to play out all your strengths, like put your 360-degree view, 360 personality and test scores and everything while you're recruiting. And the second thing that really surprised me was, so I joined in August, right? August 10, September. And then recruiting hit. I was doing both consulting and tech. So consulting starts a little bit early than tech. And in around September, October, November, I'm like, okay, I need to make these decisions about where I want to live based on nothing. I haven't visited these places. I haven't had the opportunity to understand what the culture, what the weather would look like. And suddenly, especially for consulting, where you're kind of trying to make connects to an office instead of the entire organization. So that piece I really remember because, okay, do I want to stay in Boston? Do I want to stay in New York? Do I want to go to Seattle? So just if I had known better, I would have researched more, thinking through the lens of not just professional, but where I have my personal network, where I have some friends, where do I see myself living, right? So I think those two were important for recruiting.
Yeah.
Moving on to just like classes and academics, I think I was really pleasantly surprised by how interactive and participative the entire curriculum is. Sometimes in India, so I was a software engineer before. I have a background in computer science and engineering. Sometimes the lectures can be more one-sided. So I was pleasantly surprised by how much you could, participate in classes and discussions, learn from your classmates. But it takes some getting used to, like raising your hand in class and being like, hey, I know this answer, or hey, I have had similar experiences in these fields, right? So it's
Yeah.
like a double-edged thing. And finally, just like social, I think there's a lot of possibilities to carve your own MBA experience out. Growing up in Nagpur, which is like the middle of India, there's no like water body, there's no snow. There were just so many experiences that I had never had. So, giving myself the opportunity and the confidence to just have an open mind, try out different things. I signed up for ice hockey my first year. I couldn't get to the hockey stage, but I think I did fine with the ice skating. So, just these small things, right? Yeah, I think I'll let someone else speak now.
No, I think that's like encapsulates a lot of my thoughts. So thanks for sharing, Joanna.
I think two things really surprised me. One, to your point, Suvik, right? Like you need to constantly sell yourself. Like the way that people always tell me is like think yourself as a brand. I was in marketing before, and everyone's like, okay, you were selling brands before, but how do you sell yourself as a brand, right? Not just for recruiting, but also like how do you want to interact with people? So advocate for yourself is a very big part of like culturally surprising to me. So that's the first thing. And then I think conjunction to that is like no like ask for help. So I think culturally I was brought up in a way like, hey, like asking for help means weakness. In my personality or whatever, like I have to make sure that I got this by myself. But it's not a very good mentality in business school as well as in in professional career, right? Like in US, people bound over like, hey, I need this help. Like, can you please help me? And then you can like build your personal network throughout this. So that was like a very, very surprising. It's like, okay, I tried this, I couldn't figure it out. It's okay for me to ask for help, right? Like that's what your classmates, your friends are there for. So asking for help is definitely a very big unlock for me as well.
Yeah.
And I think the third piece is like, it was very surprising that when you think about like school and when you think about like recruiting, it's not one dimensional. It's not about like your test of the score test or anything. It's also about your personality, your experience, right? Like sometimes we want to make sure like we look professional in front of the others, and then we also want to talk shops about like, hey, what these are all the things I have achieved, these are all the credentials I have. But sometimes we forget to be humans as well, just to interact with people. Hey, my name is Joanna, I'm really into traveling, these are the 23 countries I've been to, how about you, right? So those kind of like things are really kind of like culturally surprising to me.
Yeah. No, that is totally fair. You mentioned asking for help. I was in a session with a few other current students, and we were talking about pre-MBA networking. You know how like when you write your applications and like you write your essays, you reach out to people and you ask them like, what do you, how did you do your MBA, or which clubs were you a part of, blah blah blah. And for me, when I did that, I was like, why would someone talk to me? Like, why? Like, but people do, like, surprisingly, a surprising number of people do. So, proactively reaching for help is a really cool instrument, almost a shortcut to getting things done. Kinjo, what about you?
Awesome. I'm going to dive into all the three pieces we just talked about, like networking. Networking. Uh, I'm going to talk about, instead of uh, talking about myself, like I'm going to talk about building relationship, right? So that is what I realized so initially first 6 months, right? Even I was so confused. Okay, how can I brag so much? It's all about then building relationship, talking about or creating genuine connections, right? That really helped, because so then the mindset changes, saying that, okay, I'm going to talk about my achievements, or I should talk about, so making the connection, which actually really helped in my uh, so my internship recruitment as well, full-time recruitment. In fact, so currently, if at all I'm going to go for a hiring event, I actually encourage people to talk to me so that I can understand and have a very good conversation to understand that how the candidate is going to go, and then how can that candidate contribute to the company, right?
Right.
Second piece to really help, that consulting club at Tepper, right? So they understood, saying that, hey, networking is, so doesn't come naturally to the Asian students. So they hosted some sort of mock networking session, so that you get used to those particular piece, which is, instead of becoming circle of death, it will become circle of happiness, right? So getting used to that and talking about it, building connection, building relationship, because definitely consulting world, right? I mean, networking is very important.
Yeah.
And the third point, which I'll definitely advise, is so as you mentioned, Sobik, right? So talking to the current student, talking to the alum at the time of application really provides the clarity in the application side of it, saying that, okay, why I should go for this school and not this school, because there's always a differentiation factor, right? How does it fit into my overall career goal? So that actually help us to think and also position ourselves, and okay, this school I can so contribute better, I can also gain more and more advantages, which will help in the career. So
Yeah. No, totally. I think increasing your own radius of influence like helps you in the future. I want to shift gears a little bit. I want to make you all a little bit nostalgic. So one of the things that I think I missed out on. During my internship, I went to a tech company in Cupertino that makes phones, and almost by design, they did not give any of us return offers. Like all the operations guys, all of them got return offers. None of the PMs got return offers, and there were very few PMs to begin with. And the expectation was, you then network with random teams, have your internship manager write good words for you, and then maybe you'll get an interview. So when I came back in my second year, it was very stressful because I had to like recruit all over again. And I kind of dumped a consulting offer to go to this tech company. And now all my consulting friends are back to campus with return offers, like you, Pranjali and Joanna. Um, so my second year was super stressful because I was recruiting consulting, I was recruiting tech, and because I had a really successful internship, I got a ton of interviews. But then I have to like go to a bunch of offices and do interviews. So I was really stressed out. So one of the things that I wish I had done better was not take life so seriously and be more selective, not go to every single interview that I had. Life wasn't that, didn't need to be all that stressful. But at that time, I had like a giant loan. So I wanted to do as much as possible for me to advance to make sure that I land in the right spot. So that's my, I wish I had done that differently. Joanna, I'll start with you. What do you wish you had done differently?
Honestly, it's kind of like the same that I wish I've done differently. It's just like don't take the whole like recruiting so seriously. Of course, like we need to show up, put on like hard work, right? All the efforts, but also remember that business school is a one in a lifetime experience, and that there are so many different aspects just than recruiting. So I'll give like one example. Like during my first year, recruiting for consulting was really stressful as well. So like my friends will say, "Hey, Joanna, do you want to like come to this party, grab a drink?" I was like, "Oh no, I cannot. I have to do this case, blah 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 blah." But now when I think about it, I kind of regret it, right? Like one cup of drinks won't really kill like my prep for recruiting, but that will just make like one or two more friends in business school. And then because of the second year, it was like COVID and then like virtual. And then I regret it a lot. I wish that I got to know like all the people in business school a little bit better in my first year.
Yeah.
So if I can do it over again, I will like recruiting for sure, go all way into it, but also like not taking things so seriously and try to have fun as well.
Yeah, no, and also, by the way, I think we got lucky, Joanna, because the class right after us did half their class
True.
online. So we're still okay. Kinjal, what do you regret? That things that you should have done better.
I agree with you, right? And there's a term called as a FOMO, right?
Oh yeah.
Fear of missing out, saying that okay, I have to find 30 hours in a day and do everything I can. Uh, Attend all the case competition, attend all the office hours, attend all the company's presentation, attend all the classes. So first is definitely FOMO, which I regret, saying that okay, I have to do everything, right? And I think second year I did a good thing. I did a JOMO, joy of missing out. If I'm missing out, it's good. So let me miss out on some stuff and focus on ultimate goal, right? And yeah, recruiting is stressful, and I think I'm in the same boat as Sovik, because my internship company had a restructuring. I did not get a written offer, and then it became little. In fact, I'll say so a lot stressful. In fact, I remember in 1 week I was interviewing in 4 different cities, flying across the US. Right, it was like literally 5 different flights,
Yeah.
and at that time, so interview was in person in office, right? Yeah, currently there's all the virtual interviews and everything. Yeah. So to your point, definitely have some time to enjoy the experience, because this 2 years will not come back again.
Yeah, no, I can't imagine what interviewing four different places must feel like. That sounds that sounds rough. I hate flights, which Pranjali, you must be doing a lot of. But tell us, what do you regret from
Yeah.
your first 2 years of business school?
So I also re-recruited in my second year. I think looking back, just taking some time for yourself, and thinking about what the kind of MBA experience you want out of it. For example, so growing up, I had this. I did some courses by this professor David J. Milan. He was like this. He has this famous course, Intro to CS50 or something like that, and I was like, I should take that. I should take that, and I ended up taking that. I think in my last semester in business school.
Yeah.
And I wish like I had, in recruiting can feel like a lot, especially in your first year. And
Yeah.
it takes away time for you to actually genuinely think about this is an opportunity, an experience, not just in terms of recruiting and job, but also like personal growth, taking out courses or classes that you wish you really had. So I wish
Yeah.
I had done that sooner, instead of waiting for my second year or waiting for things to stabilize in recruiting before I can do this, because all things happen constantly and they happen at the same time. So just understanding the trade-offs and doing things better, planning things better.
Yeah, no, totally agree. Awesome. I want to do the opposite. By the way, for people who are watching, we have a ton of people in the live audience. If you want to leave a question, go for it. We have about 15 minutes left. We'll try to get to it. I want to do the flip side of the previous question. I feel like all of us international folks are very we find a lot of joy in criticizing ourselves. So regret comes super easy. So I'm going to do the other way around. Tell us something that you're actually proud of, that you did really well in school. So I'll go first. Again, this came up in the conversation that I've had, right? Like, oh, your business school network is going to carry you through for the rest of your life. I don't buy that. Like, I absolutely don't buy that. That your business school network is going to be so critical. Maybe, but typically am introverted, so I made maybe like very few friends in business school, but they were super strong. They were really solid. They were really well vetted, and I'm still very much in touch with them. And they were all, most of them, unfortunately, most of them are Asian or Indian, or, like they're like five people that I'm still friends with. They all tend to be immigrants for some reason, but there's super strong connections. I talk to them fairly frequently. I meet with them. Like most of the connections that I have are social. I'm not trying to get any career benefit out of my network, but I kind of feel that the business school network is overstated. Maybe you get a job out of that, maybe, but I think you get to meet really interesting people that in no way you'd be friends with if you were doing your regular job, your regular things with the people that you regularly go to work with. So having few but really strong connections, I thought I did really well. I'm going to go reverse order. So Kinjal, I'll ask you first. What do you think you did well in business school?
Yeah, I'm going to follow your steps, right? I agree that and after 5 years of graduation, right, obviously the network goes down, right? Now you're
Sure.
very focused with only friends kind of thing. You're not expecting anything out of jobs or something out of your network. But at the same time, right, my suggestion, in fact, I'm not doing it. I should do it more often, that I should work hard to keep my network alive, right? Because so all of us in business school have a great network. We build so put in so much of effort to build that network. If at all we can build that, in that case, obviously helps us in the long run. But at the same time, right? So always something like a network. Second is obviously friends, and the friends after 5 years, obviously. So I'm not in touch with a lot of people. One of the other thing which I really liked about so Tepper School is, Tepper School in Carnegie Mellon, right? Carnegie Mellon has multiple other schools associated with that, right?
Of course.
So I got an opportunity to participate in other schools' activity. Like, for example, we started something called as this business and design club, right? Because at that time in product management, UI, UX experience, so played a role that I'm very proud of. So being a founding member of that particular club, and the club is doing pretty well after 5 years. So I reached out
Right.
and it's doing pretty well. So those kind of movements where you contribute to the club as well as the school, and it goes on for years, is really fulfilling.
Yeah, that sounds fantastic. Joanna?
I think what I'm really proud of my business school adventure is kind of like stepping out of my comfort zone. So I am not like extremely introverted, but I'm like right in the middle. So I used to say like I tend to be a follower versus a leader. But in business school, I try to like explore different things. I was like the organizer for kind of like orientation. I was like the EVP for business clubs, trying to organize like parties to celebrate like Diwali, to celebrate kind of like all this kind of like big festivals. and then also was doing kind of like a bunch of things like exchange programs, and then also kind of like organized a lot of trips among my classmates to go to like Chile and then Alaska. So those kind of like things I'm really proud of. It's just like I try to be a better version of myself by trying to like push my own boundaries and do things I would never do.
Right. What about you, Pranjali?
For sure. I totally echo Joanna's thoughts. I think business school is just a very low stake environment for you to kind of pursue things and push yourself out of your comfort zone. Similar to her, like taking up leadership roles in different clubs, organizing conferences, and traveling the world. There, you get a lot of opportunities to either do an exchange or our school has this thing, international experience, where you can go study on a topic. While in the US, and then go visit those companies and learn more about those topics from those companies. So just putting myself out of my comfort. I mean, I signed up for ice hockey, guys. I mean, I think I put myself out of the comfort zone a lot. So totally echo Joanna's thoughts.
Yeah, no, I think I totally agree. I think business school also has a way to almost force yourself to get out of your comfort zone, which I think is a good forcing mechanism because I like living in my comfort zone. So I need deep external motivation to get out of that. I've built a house with my comfort zone. So no, that sounds fantastic. I think I'm curious. How much of, because we mentioned network. This is mostly a question for Joanna and Kinjal, but I think Pranjali, I'm sure your network is thriving right now because you just got out of business school and you're friends with them. You moved to a new city. I'm sure you're meeting up Yale alums. Uh, but Kinjal, Joanna, how much of your network do you still keep in touch with for like non-professional reasons? Like I had someone reach out to me like a week ago who was from my section. He just got out of a consulting job, is looking to explore tech. And I haven't spoken to him in like 2 years, but I would obviously get on the phone with him, right? So that, I call that like passive network, but I'm looking for like, do you still hang out with your peers? Are you still in touch with, so what's that number like for you guys? Like maybe Kinjal, I'll start with you.
Absolutely. So obviously, I mean, 5 years, the network has come down because obviously takes a lot of effort to keep the network thriving and alive. So do have friends like so a close group of Tepper classmates. In fact, we're just trying to go to Grand Canyon this November, right? They're all coming down to my house, and we're going to plan it out and everything. But at the same time, right? To your point, passive networking really helpful. Like for example, I'm involved in some of the Tepper AdCom activities, right?
Right.
So some of the times people reach out to know about Tepper, and it really encouraging that, hey, before you apply, please talk to
Sure.
multiple people and understand what Tepper has to offer, right? So those kind of definitely help. Somebody, to your point, wants to move from consulting to tech and everything. So in Tepper, I remember, so I come from very tech heavy background. So in Tepper, I used to conduct some kind of a training session for my classmates to know about SQL and everything else, right? So that they can do better on the interviews and everything. So whatever way I could contribute will definitely be helpful. But yeah, it definitely takes a lot of time and effort to keep the network alive. And after 5 years, I think I should do more.
Right. Awesome. Joanna?
Yeah, I have a group of like 5 to 10 classmates that I'm really close with. So
Right.
like, for example, when I'm traveling, right? Like some of them live in Austin, some of them on the West Coast. When I'm like nearby, it's like, hey, I want to do a weekend trip. So let's just go somewhere or I will visit you. So, and then like, those are the people probably they are always there. They are my supporting system, right? Like whenever that I have a problem, I want to like people to talk with, and then they are always there for me. For example, I had bed bug issue in my apartment, and then I was like totally freaked out, and I was like calling my friends, like crying on the phone, like what the hell do I do? Probably they won't be there like to give me like professional advice, but it's always so good to know like you have people there. They are like your extended family listening to your problem, and you can like just hang out with them.
Were you in Paris recently?
No, I have no idea how I got that, but it was a pain.
Pranjali, your network better be in the hundreds at this point.
I mean, we just graduated, so we keep in touch with like WhatsApp groups and other things. I moved to Seattle, making this decision without ever visiting Seattle. Maybe I visited for like 1 or 2 days before. Yeah. So we have like an alum network here, and sometimes we hang out, and there's like a group chat going on, and it feels organic. It feels like a continuation of business school, at least at this point. So let's see how it goes.
Awesome. I wanted to thank all of you. We are almost out of time. I want to thank all of you for joining. This was fantastic. I learned a lot about how you went through your MBA and what does a look back look like. Um, Joanna, Pranjali, Kinjal, I'm gonna ask you guys back to our YouTube channel. We do a lot of these videos that like we love to have alums, we love to have current students because I think a nuanced take on MBA really helps out people who are also applying, who are in the shoes and like super nervous about their applications. It's not that big of a deal, and I think just hearing from all of you helps alleviate a lot of nerves. Again, thanks so much for joining. And by the way, everybody who's watching, this is the last session on YouTube. We have one more session on Zoom on non-MBA master's programs for schools. So I will see some of you there. Thanks again. Bye.
Thank you so
Bye.
much.
Thank you. Bye bye.